at the time, I think it was like 150 different theaters. So my goal was to get a promo package to every theater in hopes that somebody would hire me. And around like the 71st theater.
Michelle Edwards, founder and lead of WireWood Station, is a classically trained violinist and award-winning performer, now leads one of Colorado's top bands, blending country, bluegrass, and rock with heart and harmony.
The next day, just, being at the right place at the right time and being prepared, I got a call from his musical director, and he was like, "Hey, Michelle, we got your promo package, and we'd love to have you join our crew."
What's up, everybody? This is Ryan Van Ornum back with another edition of Scaling Up Success podcast powered by Cynergists. Cynergists is your scalable operations team that can deliver growth of your business at an exponential rate at a fraction of the price. Go ahead and look up Cynergist.com. Today I have Michelle Edwards with WireWood Station, and I am so excited about this one. Michelle, we've been friends for 7-8 years now, and I'm so excited to be able to talk about WireWood with you and like what you have going on. How you been?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and all the amazing things you're doing with your company. It's so exciting.
It is. It's a lot of fun, and just like you have many different roles and hats that you wear. But let's talk a little bit about like what you got going on with WireWood Station, and one of the best local touring bands in Colorado. Tell me about it.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we have been around for almost 12 years now. And how Wirewood started was I lived in Nashville for about 12 years, and the director of Charlie Daniels, his band director, had reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're touring. We're going to be in Monument, Colorado, of all places, for a summer concert. And Charlie wants your band to open up for him." And I was like, "That's great." Although I didn't really have my own band at the time. I was in about three other bands, but I wasn't like, really, it was just if they needed a fiddle player. And so I thought, well, I really don't have a band that I would want to open with for Charlie Daniels. So I was like, well, I better create one. So that's actually how WireWood Station started, was the need for a band to open for Charlie Daniels. So that's the birth of it. And then after that, we thought, well, we'll do like, maybe 2 gigs a month, get something going. And next thing we know, people were just calling us all the time. And so it kind of just took off from there. And we've had some personnel changes throughout the year, but mostly it was just due to our schedule. A lot of the original guys, they all had day jobs and couldn't keep up with the demand of people wanting live music. But the band we have now, it's amazing. So James Dykes, he's our bass player, and we're kind of an eclectic crew. He toured all over Europe with a heavy metal band, and he has a great voice. He's the most talented bass player I've ever played with, including in Nashville. And
Wow.
he's just amazing. He has a heart of gold, and just once he hits the stage, he is on, and you can just count on him. So he's our bass player, James Dykes. He's awesome. And then we have Mark Worthington, who's our drummer, and he used to play with the Navy. And he had opportunities like play with Bob Hope, and he toured all over Europe in the Navy. And he's actually been with me for all 12 years. So he's a dear friend and really an amazing musician. And then we have Eric Blackmore, which he's been in the Springs area for a long time and have played with a lot of different bands in the area. And he kind of has maybe more of a rock background, but he has a blues voice, which he has such a great voice. So he's our newest addition. He's been with me for 2 years now. So, but we're so grateful. And then when we need a keyboard player, we have Brian Petak, which is a pastor here in Monument, but he used to play in Nashville, and he's amazing keyboardist. He just shows up. He doesn't rehearse with us. He just shows up, and yeah. So that's how good he is. So I feel
Man, that's incredible right there.
right. I'm so blessed to just have great players who, I think some bands don't succeed because they don't treat the band as a business. And I'm so thankful that I have guys in the band that are professional musicians, but also they understand the business aspect of it, of, showing up prepared and, treating it like a business. So it's a great crew. I'm so thankful for them. Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. And I've seen you play many times live, and every time you just knock it out of the park. So it's just amazing.
Oh, thanks.
One of the things that maybe people may not know is that you're actually classically trained first, right? You played in Nashville, but you're classically trained on the violin. Like you play, I mean, you said it yourself, you play fiddle, when it's country and bluegrass music, but then, you're classically trained violinist.
That's right. Yes, yeah. So my degree's in violin performance, classical violin performance, and so in college I was playing in different symphonies. I was playing with like the Fort Collins Symphony and the Greeley Philharmonic and Cheyenne Symphony, and then of course the local college symphony. And it's amazing music. If anybody has an opportunity to play in a symphony, go for it because it's like the best surround stereo you'll ever have. But I kind of found out, I joined a country band in college just to help. I was paying my way through college and I was like, oh, country bands, they kind of pay pretty good for things. So I joined a country band and that was like my sophomore, junior year in college. And my professor, he was amazing teacher, but he was very old school. And so one day we had a gig. This is when you could smoke in the bars, And so I had like a makeup lesson at like 7 in the morning on a Monday. And so I opened up my case and just cigarette smoke, that smell wafted out of my. And I remember he was like writing something down and he was like smelling and he was like, "Are you playing in bars, Michelle?" And I'm like, "Yes." And so he said, "Well, you can do that later, but right now you got to stick to what you're here for." So I ended up quitting the band, but I always was like, oh, band is so much fun because the interaction with people and the improvisational part of it. So after I got my degree, that's when I decided, well, I probably need to go where the music's at. So when I was 21, Nashville was a little intimidating to me, but I thought, well, I'll head to Branson because that's a big live music place. So I packed up my Honda. I didn't know anybody, didn't have a job, and went to Branson on a wing and a prayer. And when I got there, I had to live in a, shall we say, an hourly hotel because I didn't have a job and no one would give me an apartment. So I ended up, I worked at a Crown Plaza in sales for a little bit, but I had a little promo package. Of course, this was before the internet where you could just, send an email to somebody. So there were like, at the time, I think it was like 150 different theaters. And so my goal was to get a promo package to every theater in hopes that somebody would hire me. And around like, I think it was like the 71st theater I went to was Wayne Newton's theater. And so the next day, just, being at the right place at the right time and being prepared, I got a call from his musical director and he was like, "Hey, Michelle, we got your promo package and we'd love to have you join our crew." I was like, "Do I need to audition?" They were like, "Nope, we heard your promo package. We saw you have a degree. You're good to go." So, um,
Wow.
so so at 22, I started playing with Wayne Newton and touring with him, which was just a great experience and amazing musicians. I was the youngest in the band. Most folks had toured with him for like 20 to 30 years. Like he was just a great person to work for and a steady gig for a musician, which can be hard to find at times. So wherever he would go, his musicians would just follow by houses wherever his residency was. And so it was a great experience, and I learned so much from him, the entertainment value of putting on a show. But then after a couple of years, we were doing 12 shows a week, and so
Wow.
there's only so many ways you can play Dankeschön creatively. So so I actually met my husband there in Branson and we got married. And then he was so sweet. I said, "Well, are we going to move back to Branson?" He's like, "Where do you want, you need to go where the music's at. I can get a job anywhere." So after we got married, then we moved to Nashville. And I didn't have steady work like 12 shows a week, but I definitely was able to flex the creative bone, which is so much fun playing. That's why musicians love music is the creativity. So we were there for 13 years and played with amazing folks there and did a lot of recording sessions. And then we had our kiddos and we kind of wanted to move back to Colorado to be closer to family. So that's kind of my musical journey
I
there.
love that.
Yeah,
You have
but
such a great backstory. It's amazing. And then the one other thing that I want to ask you about that really draws a lot of attention because I know a little bit about this is tell us a little bit about your violin, your fiddle. Like I mean, it has its own backstory.
it does. It does. In fact, I have it right here for you if your viewers can see it. I don't know, but
Yes.
it's old. It was made in 1928 by a German maker, and it's kind of a cool but sad story. I had it appraised recently. So almost 100 years old, and it's my workhorse. Like I don't play any other. It's other. I have other violins, but this is my baby. Like this is the one I want to play with.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was made by a German maker, and he had a lovely violin shop in Germany. It was a family trade, and unfortunately, he and his whole family were sent to the concentration camps. And so this is actually just more of a treasure to me because of that. And so it's such an honor. I feel like I get to play a little bit of his legacy every night I pick up this instrument. And so in the band, I wrote a song called Family Tree, and it's a story about how his legacy lives on in this little old piece of wood that I get to play every night. And what the chorus says, it's what he might say to us today. And the chorus says, life is like a vapor too short to disagree that we all come from that same family tree. So kind of one of those songs that probably is appropriate for today with how everybody's so divisive about things. If he could talk to us today, he'd probably just be like, hey, everybody get along, love each other, and enjoy the
Yeah.
music.
No,
So
that's an amazing story. Almost 100 years old. That is, and like you said, it's your baby. It's your go-to. It's the one that you play on stage all the time. I think I've even been able to like hold that one after a show one time. It's really cool to, you know, to see the tradition, the history that you have in that thing, and like if those strings could talk, you know?
Man, I know. I wish there was a way. I've had this violin since I was in eighth grade, so a long time. But it would be so fun to see who had it before me.
Hmm.
When I was in eighth grade, my violin teacher kind of saw that maybe I had maybe would want to pursue violin. So she had a friend in New York who was a violin broker. And so he sent out five different instruments. And so I'd close my eyes and she'd play the instruments to see which one sounded best to my ear. And every single time I picked this one, like it wasn't the most expensive one either, but it just spoke to my heart. So I think
Oh
there's a
my
kind of cool connection there.
My goodness, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
like one of the things that like when you're in a band, um everybody has a role to play and it's always make sure that like how do you make sure that your band is like has a really strong culture because that comes out in the music, doesn't it?
It really does. And I think in any sort of business, culture needs to be the top priority because, it's real evident on stage if there's not a good culture because
Mhm.
audience can see, hey, are they mad at each other? Are they getting along? But I think even in a day-to-day, office situation, culture is so important. And I think the bottom line is serving others. Like no matter if you're the boss or the receptionist, if you have that servant leadership quality about you, I think that makes all the difference in the world. So and I think our words hold power too, and watching our words and how we address situations or problems, and make sure it's addressed in a team format, not an accusatory. I think that's so important because our ultimate goal is to make whatever organization we're in the best organization it can be. But you have to have your teammates to make that happen. And for a band, boy, you got to have your fellows on the same page, you know. So I know we in our band, I'm of course the I guess leader of the band and the manager and handle the contracts and all that good stuff. But it's not Michelle's band. If my goal is that if somebody saw us playing, they really don't know who a lead singer is, because I feel like all of the guys have such a great quality that they can bring to the table and bring to the audience. And my goal is to make sure everybody's highlighted for their strengths. And so, James, we do like a Led Zeppelin song because that's in his wheelhouse. We might bluegrassify it a little bit, but that's where he shines, and making sure, almost every song I'm like, James, take a bass solo because he's such an amazing musician, but just playing like boom, 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 it doesn't show
Right.
his amazing abilities. So he can be highlighted in, those bass solos. And so it's important. I think it's important to highlight and appreciate your team members. I think that's
Absolutely. And you do a great job of it on stage. I've seen it all, many times. You guys have such a well-balanced team, that play up there, and it's great to see the chemistry that you guys have. So really cool. Um, One of the things that I have a question on is like, has the way of getting gigs changed? Like, has technology changed this?
Well, it has. It sure has. It's interesting. I think I've been in the music business long enough to see such a wave of change. When I first started, of course, Spotify wasn't out there, and touring musicians were actually paid pretty well, for their abilities. Now, touring musicians are not paid what I think they're worth a lot of times. And of course, it is challenging. I think where musicians can succeed in today's world is with live music. Spotify, it's great to get music out there. And I think the original story of Spotify was to help the artist, but you can get 1,000 plays and get half a penny for
Oh
your
my gosh.
it's not. In fact, I'm always like trying to educate myself onto how to make more money with music and whatnot. And this gentleman, I just listened to it last week. He said, if you're an independent artist, you really need to have a budget. If you drop an album, you need to have 1,000 streams per day on a new song every month. And for promotion, you need to spend a minimum of $50,000 to $80,000
Oh my
to
gosh.
that 1,000 streams a day, which in turn gives you about $500 a month. So it is challenging for
Yeah.
sure, unless you just have a song that goes viral or if it's like on a, theme song. And there's a lot of, it is just, it's kind of like an actor, you have to somebody's not going to cast you for a role if you don't look the part and sound like the part. And
Yeah.
so I think the same is with music a lot of times, especially in today's world. Like I know I submit our music to like TV shows or, commercials and things like that. And we haven't had an opportunity to have one of those, but it's just what they're looking for. So it's a competitive world. There's I don't know, it's like I think it was like 20,000 new songs a day that are
Wow.
submitted. So it's very competitive. But where I think musicians can shine and build their fan base is with live music. And if you're willing to tour or you have the capability to tour, that's even better. But I wrote this book. I have it right here. It's how to break into the local music scene and make money. And what I have found over the years is I was touring, and after a while, if you analyze the hourly rate, when you analyze your time on the bus, the hotel room, all that, you can make actually a little bit more money if you stay local and just become more of a chameleon type musician. And that's, I think, the success of WireWood Station, how we've managed that, is because we'll do like we have a corporate set where we can play, if they need background music, we're playing state jazz standards or instrumental John Denver songs, or but then if they need a wedding, we can play the party songs like Pina Colada. And so I think just being musically diverse within a band, you can make a lot of money at a local scene. So, which is pretty cool.
That is super cool. And thank you for shedding some light on that. That's really engaging and really appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So if you're looking back and well, if you're looking back and talking to Michelle who's just getting out of college, what advice would you give Michelle?
Oh, that is such a good question. And I might have to think on that a little bit. But I think what I would tell her, which I think I kind of did myself, but would be just to find your hustle muscle and be willing to say yes to things. Um, you know, I think if you're prepared, if you've practiced and are prepared, then you can willingly say yes a lot more easily. And so I would say to younger musicians, make sure you're prepared and ready to go with all the gear, set lists, everything you need, so that when an opportunity arises, you can say yes. And there's so many people, there's so many opportunities. That's the beauty of technology today. There are so many opportunities available. But I think sometimes where people miss opportunities is they're not prepared, and sometimes they're not willing to flex that hustle muscle,
I
to
love that. The hustle muscle.
so I had my grandpa, he had a ranch in Montana and he didn't talk very often, but when he would speak, you'd want to listen. And I remember his phrase was, Michelle, you got to remember to dig before you're thirsty. Dig that well before you're thirsty. And I think that's been ingrained in me is, be prepared, work hard. It's gonna come, your fruits will come after that hard work, but don't expect anything to come without some, sweat involved.
I
So,
love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that insight. That was wonderful.
oh,
You want to do a little rapid fire questions?
sure, sure.
All right. So, all right, we got about 5 questions for you. So we're just gonna rattle these off. All right. So what's your book that you're reading right now?
Oh, I am reading. Well, I just read Buy Back Your Time, which is great.
Yeah,
And um, Fearless Living by Jamie Winship is what I'm listening to on Audible right now. So,
fantastic.
Fearless Living, it's awesome. If you have a chance, it's a great book.
What are a couple songs on your workout playlist right now?
Oh, well, I've been loving Teddy Swims' Lose Control.
That's a great one.
Great workout one, but it's such a great song.
I love it. What about do you have a favorite podcast that you're listening to right now?
Oh, I listen to so many. Taylor Welsh, I've kind of gotten into his podcast recently, and it's great. It's more based on Christianity, but it's very insightful, and I love how he's bringing maybe subjects that the church doesn't always talk about to
Love it.
light.
Love
It's
it.
great.
If you're not on stage and working your other jobs that you have, what time are you spending with your family? What are you guys doing?
Well, we love going on hikes, playing pickleball. We love to gamify everything in our family. So yeah, just games, outdoors, hiking,
Love it.
having, yeah, yeah.
Love
The more
it.
the merrier is our motto.
What's your favorite cheat meal?
Oh, I'd have to say Cherry Garcia ice cream.
Oh, there it is. There it is. You have knocked it out of the park with the little rapid fire questioning there, Michelle. Thank you for that. Now, we talked earlier about what was the advice for younger Michelle? Where do you see yourself going in the future now with Wirewood?
Well, we are chugging along. We've made some strategic changes, I think. We are kind of focusing a little bit more on corporate events, just because they pay a lot better. And we want to use our time wisely, that, buy back your time.
Exactly.
So,
I love that.
yeah, and then we're also writing some more songs. So that's just part of, I think, a musician is to write the songs. And songwriting is so vulnerable because when you write a book, you have like 1,000 pages to tell a story, but with a song, you have 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes to tell the
Right.
story. And I think that that's the beauty of songwriting. And I do love the story songs that hopefully impact people and people can relate to. So we're writing more songs and trying to up our ante on the quality of gigs. So
I love it. So if people want to book WireWood Station, how they get a hold of you?
Yes, well, it's just wirewood-station.com. So we have our website there, and you can see our schedule there. You can see some videos, our recent albums up, and then you can find out more about the fellas in the band. So
Awesome. Awesome. Michelle, thank you so much for coming on the Scaling Up Success podcast. We certainly appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, and I always love catching up with you. Thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Once again, Ryan Van Ornum, Scaling Up Success podcast, powered by Cynergists. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Everyone, have a wonderful day.